And good afternoon. I'm Tracy Sinclair. This is Rebecca Palsha with our investigative unit. And what we want to talk about today is, starting next week, is the murder trial of Brian Smith. Now, I wasn't familiar with the case when we started this, so can you kind of give us some background what's going on with this case?
Yeah, absolutely. So Brian Smith is a man who in about 2019 was in Anchorage. He's originally from South Africa, and he is accused of killing at least two women. And how this came to light was that someone on the street found an SD card, like a memory card, labeled homicides at the Marriott. And so that's how this kind of jumped into the national attention, really. And it also is about the time when people started really focusing on the high rate of murdered and missing Indigenous women. And this was, involved two Alaska Native women. So
both of the women are Alaska Native. And when did this occur?
2019.
Okay, so what's been going on? We're now 2024. What's been going on between then and now?
We have had a lot of delays in this, and some of it's, the things you would expect, COVID, but there is also, Brian Smith had fired one of his attorneys at one point. They had been asking for extensions for many reasons, and so now we are finally getting to jury selection on Monday, and even yesterday when we had one of kind of the final days of getting things ready before this goes to trial, there were delays then too because the defense and the prosecutor were going through everything that was recorded. There's going to be a lot of evidence in this case, especially recordings of things that Brian Smith has said to police officers that his defense attorney was trying to get thrown out of this case.
Now, when we talk about some of the recordings, I don't know who's seen them outside of the case, but we've heard a little bit about them. How upsetting are these that we're expecting to hear?
These are, from what we have been told, and again, we haven't watched these things because the trial hasn't begun yet, but what we have read so far, so some pretty horrific events, and it is expected to be rather graphic, and that's one of the things that the judges talked about in this case is because this will be live streamed, and that's done by the court system, and we will as well take that live stream from the court system. But comes into play of who should see what within this. Should it be something that the jury sees, or should it be something that the people in the galley see? So we'll see what happens with that as the judge kind of goes through something like this, because this is all relatively still kind of new, the idea of live streaming court cases, and especially new in Alaska. We've had precedent with this in the Valley, but as far as I can remember, I can't remember a case that has gained such large attention in Anchorage that has been live streamed. And
so Monday, this will begin. What happens on Monday?
So Monday, there are 50 people showing up at 8:30 in the morning. Everything is set up right now so that there's seats of 25. Each attorney will be given an hour each to question that first 25 group of people. And that's when they'll see who they want. And it will be also telling to see what kind of questions are they asking people. Are they asking about missing and murdered Indigenous women? What are they asking about violence? What are they asking about, homelessness? And so that will be interesting to see what the questions focus on. And so say we get through that, so that'll be 4 hours on Monday. And say we get through that and we still don't have a jury, there are 39 people who are supposed to show up on Tuesday morning.
And so these questions are basically to find out what underlying prejudice or biases that you already have.
Right.
And I would assume, depending on whether you're the defense or the prosecutor, you're looking for somebody that has leanings towards what you're trying to...
Yeah. And also there's the question of what have people heard about this case?
Right.
And again, it has been about 5 years, and so what do people remember? Did they follow along? Are they reading now? And what was interesting was yesterday, at least, for the first group of people, the prosecutor went through, and she was going through pretty quickly to see what people were saying on their reports, for their pre-questions. And it was interesting to see that most of them, by far, one person said they may do something about this case if they could research it, but the vast majority of people had not remembered this or did not have knowledge of this case.
Well, when we first started, when you said it, it was remember, it was the SD card that was the trigger for this. And it took me a second. So, I mean, it's been 5 years, and as you said, COVID was in that space in between, and so a lot of us, you know, that's a long time to draw back any sort of facts about this. What are we expecting in this trial? How long is it expected to last, and do we have any idea of what we're going to see and hear?
Yeah, so we expect it to be either 3 to 4 weeks, is what the defense and the prosecution has said. I expect to see Brian's wife, who he is still married to. I saw her at the beginning of this week to see if she wanted to say something on camera or if she wanted to say something, and she had said she didn't think her husband did it. And so but I did ask her, are you going to be showing up? And she said she would be coming for this, and as well as the family members of the 2 women who were murdered in this case. There was a large presence of the family members at the last time this was in court, and so I do expect family as well. And
I know we saw in the picture that we used that was on our website, you could see distinctly there were women in the gallery with the red painted hand on their face, which is the symbol of missing and murdered Indigenous women in particular.
Right.
And so I wonder how much of that presence, how much that is going to be a factor in the discussion.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see because again, this was kind of at the beginning of the country kind of recognizing that there was a problem here and that more attention should be addressed to it. It was about that same time. So it will be interesting to see how the families come to court and the tone. Last time it was, one of the women is a mother and very beloved. And not that, both of them are, but one family was just in particular speaking about her. And there was kind of collective, you feel emotions when you walk into a courtroom. And so those family members really brought that.
And we know that there is the one SD card.
Correct.
Is that all we're going to see, or was there more evidence gathered? You said that you feel like there's going to be a lot of evidence.
There is. There is videos, there's photos, there's recordings. We went through a little bit of this in the testimony or not the testimony, but we went through a little bit of what we could be hearing yesterday when we were hearing from the defense and the prosecutor about what conversations should be taken out and not shown to the jury or not let the jury listen to. And so a lot of that focused on what techniques were happening right now. Was this the police department putting words in someone's mouth, or is this the police department just doing typical things that you would do during an investigation and a questioning? And there was even tone that was talked about. When Brian says something, is he saying yeah, as in an affirmative, or is that saying yeah just because it's a tick, almost like in your conversation?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we are going to be live streaming this trial coming up, not starting obviously during jury selection, but after that, once opening statements begin, we will be live streaming it gavel to gavel here on our streaming platform. So be sure to tune in to alaskasnewssource.com or our streaming app. And we appreciate you so much for joining us. We'll keep you up to date on this story as we go along. It's going to be, sounds like a long 3 weeks, but an interesting trial. So thanks, Rebecca, for kind of giving us an update and letting us know what's going on. Have a great day.